If you want to have a great family life, if you want to be successful, if you want to be in great physical shape, and then basically pick one hobby, habit, and that's actually the least important.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Solid, episode 13. I'm here with my co-host, Brandon Neal. Hey Brandon.
Hey, what's up?
And we got an exciting guest for you guys today that we get to talk to and just have a great time with, Blake Whittle, one of our greatest friends. We've known each other for a lot of years, and excited to have him on today. So Blake, thanks for hopping on, man.
Jeff, Brandon, thank you guys so much. It's an honor to be on. As I was saying a second ago, love you guys. Two of my favorite people I've ever worked with, and it's just an honor to be on here. I've been listening. I think you said this is number 13. I thought originally you were going to say it's number 12. I was going to say this is going to be the best one, Tom Brady, number 12, but 13 is not the best number, but it's all right. We'll try to make this one the best instead of unlucky, if you know what I mean. But I appreciate y'all having me on. It's truly an honor. I remember listening to y'all's first podcast on my way to the beach. And man, I was just fired. I'm always in general fired up going to the beach with my family at the beginning of this summer. But it's just, it was awesome listening to y'all. Made the time go by way quicker, and it fired me up for sure. So I'm glad to be on, and it's an honor for y'all to ask.
So we got one fan at least, is what you're saying?
At least one.
Okay.
One big one. Yeah.
All right, good.
Well, that's awesome, man. Well, yeah, we talked about you quite a bit on the podcast too, so it's good to have you on because I think people are going to be able to put a face to the name that we've mentioned sometimes. So it's going to be awesome, dude.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I was waiting to thank y'all I appreciate y'all anything you ever mentioned. I mean, I loved all the concepts. I mean, I'm sitting there on the way to the beach the first time listening to that, and then every other time with my wife Lindsay, and just thinking, this is awesome. Like, this is what so many people need to be able to have all these avenues, all these aspects of life that they improve upon. And I love the concept. So it's amazing.
Well, thanks, dude. Well, let's get into a little bit about your story, man. I think you have an incredible story. I was telling Brandon before, one of the main reasons I'm really excited to have you on, Blake, is because, and I think I've always had a great relationship with you since I've known you, and I've always had so much respect for you because I think you have the quintessential story that everybody dreams of in life, but then you became this incredible man and went and took it to another level, which is awesome to see. And, so I'd love to hear your story. And I think as I was telling Brandon, the thing that's incredible is obviously you grew up with a very successful father. And he had these, expectations, and I'm excited to hear about your perspective from that. But then as you grew up, the man that you became and the amount of success you had in your own is just incredible to see and watch you take that and now become a multi-generational success story that most people only dream about, right? So how awesome, dude. I think that a lot of people are going to get a lot out of it because I was telling Brandon, it's like, for most of us, we didn't grow up with successful parents.
Right.
And our dream is always to have children that end up like you, And so I just want you to know, man, what a cool story, and what to see the life that you've built with the environment you were raised in is the dream that most people have. And then you've just made it better, dude. So it's cool. So let's talk about it, dude. Let's talk about how you grew up and your parents and a little bit about your story.
Well, yeah, I appreciate you so much saying that, first of all. And second of all, yeah, I mean, I guess when you really look at it that way, I'm actually probably an outlier if you or not a norm, and I talk to a lot of people about that, is that majority of people that are successful in America today, they come from nothing. I think it's right around 90%. If you see all the stats that millionaires today are self-made millionaires. Now that'll probably change due to the transition of wealth going on the next 10 to 15 years. But at the same time, a lot of people that are those self-made millionaires, want their children to be successful. So I guess outside of that, I grew up in a very, clearly wealthy family, as Jeff was just mentioning there. I lived a life that definitely people dream of. And you see that sometimes go in the opposite direction later on in life for kids. And I did not want that to be me. And I had a father that taught me a lot of the principles, which we'll get into here for sure. But that was kind of one of the main things, kind of getting a little ahead, is that I just wanted to be somebody myself. I didn't want to live in my dad's shadows. I had great friends, like you two, young, successful people that I looked up to, that when I joined the business, when I started getting into the financial industry, people that I could go to and look to that were not my dad, that I could get advice from or get mentorship from, and people who I wanted to be like, people who I wanted to emulate. And that was huge for me to have influences like that, like you two and several other great people in our company, and really throughout the industry in general. But so the life that we lived, going back to that, was amazing. I mean, I grew up playing basketball. I dreamed of being Michael Jordan. I couldn't jump like Michael, play like Michael. I wasn't bald. I couldn't. I was good, but not that good. And I was just obsessed with Michael Jordan. I loved basketball. My dad took me to I think I saw 15 of Michael Jordan's games growing up, which was just amazing. Putting myself in that was one amazing things my dad did. I'm doing it now with my son. Started doing it when he was maybe, I think, 4 or 5. He's 9 now. Is putting him in environments where he sees winners. Putting him in environments. So he brought me to Michael Jordan's games, but we weren't just sitting and watching Michael Jordan play. He would say, watch how Michael Jordan does this. Watch how he reacts to this. Watch how he comes off the court. When he misses a shot, how does he react to that? Really beginning that mental toughness. And then after every game, he would be like, that's going to be you one day. That's going to be you one day. Right. And I didn't end up playing in the NBA. I played, Division I college basketball, but it did give me that belief that I could potentially be me one day. And more importantly, it gave me the belief that I could be successful, and started teaching me the right ways to go in order to be successful, in order to, whenever I reached that adulthood, 22, 23, 24 years old, where I was going to be then out there on my own, making my own decisions, making my own money. I didn't make bad decisions like, unfortunately, a lot of kids of successful parents do if they're not taught the right way, if they're not taught the proper values, if they're not taught to go earn your own keep versus, hey, everything's just going to be given to you. So to grow up in the lifestyle that we had, I mean, incredible house, incredible environment, incredible schools.
Blake, did you realize as you were growing up in that environment, did you realize how good it was comparatively to how most people live, or were you in an environment you just thought it was normal?
Yeah, I thought it was normal. Number one, great question. I thought it was normal because also there was no social media, so I didn't know what everybody else was doing. Number one. But we live in a different life now where you see what everybody's doing at every point in time, right? Because of social media. But to truly answer your question, I just thought it was normal. I knew that none of my friends were going to see Michael Jordan play, so I knew it was or they weren't going to, like, Super Bowls and Final Fours. And I mean, you name it, we went to all of it, from a sporting standpoint. But at the same point in time, it was really normalized by my dad, because my dad was a very humble person. He never really was boastful about what we were doing. And he taught me those principles. He taught me the principles of respecting others, of treating others, the right way, no matter where we came from, what we're doing, what kind of background we have, how much money we do or don't have. You don't treat somebody differently or ever feel like you're better than somebody due to where you came from or due to the financial situation. And that really stuck with me long term. I think it put me in a position in high school and then college to really develop great friendships, to really turn into the right type of person, to be the right type of person with my wife and my kids, and really to transition into that, And then again, I've had great influences, throughout my life that have helped me try to go that route. But I really didn't know. I mean, I just thought it was kind of normal. Although, when you start, we were actually, one of the cool things I'll end with the Michael Jordan stuff is that we went to the flu game. Everybody talks about the flu game, right?
Yep.
And then whenever they had The Last Dance come out, the documentary about it, they referenced that it was a pizza that he had eaten and it was potentially food poisoning. Well, we were at that game. We were on the third row at that game, sitting right in front of Charles Barkley and David Stern, who was the
commentators.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, not the commentator, but David Stern was the, what is it, the president of the
commissioner.
Commissioner. I'm sorry.
There we go.
At that point in time, commissioner. and Barkley was still kind of playing her out of that. And he's, great commentator now. But yeah, so we were sitting a row in front of them. So at that point in time, I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. Like this is a cool scenario, and going to different events where we would meet some of the best NBA players, NFL players. So I remember being like, this is definitely not normal, but in the moment, it was just something that me and my dad did all the time together, as my best friend growing up. And it just was the life that he kind of created, and now I want to do it for him, doing it for my son. So
how awesome. Well, so as you were growing up and you were in these situations with your dad, was he constantly putting you in the environment, but did you understand that your dad was mega successful, I guess, at a young age? Is that, because I think a lot of young kids, right, they just take, oh yeah, that's what my parents are saying. But it seems like that when your dad was pouring into you, that you were really soaking up a lot of it. Did you realize that he was successful, or did he intentionally build this relationship with you and then you really put a lot of value on the things that he was trying to teach you? How did that go as you were growing up?
Yeah, I knew that he was successful, just from the house that we lived in compared to when I would go to my friend's house. And then, there was an unfortunate time in my career where I was me and Jeff, I think we talked about this a little bit. I might even talk to you about that, Brandon, before, but yeah, I was in, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh grade, eighth grade. I was kind of chubby. I wasn't, very popular. So I would get the kids would mess with me and joke with me and, about being overweight, but then also be the rich kid and this and that. So that, that got in there a little bit. I think that humbled me, to be honest with you. That might've been one of the best things that ever happened to me looking back. It didn't feel like it in the moment.
Right. Yeah.
But at the same time, now it might've, looking back, it probably was one of the better things that happened to me to create humility and stuff like that as well.
I think humbling situations never feel good at the moment, but we look back and realize those are the situations that develop positive character, but they always hurt going through them, right?
Oh, they hurt bad. Yeah,
No
I remember that. And they definitely create, you said it perfectly there, they create great positive character if you use it the right way.
Right.
But yeah, that did not feel good. But I know a lot of your podcasts, I'll talk about being in good, physical shape, and that actually, some of that in that time frame coming from guys and girls, really made me into wanting to be into great physical shape at all time. I remember thinking at one point in time, like, I'm never going to go back to this. I never want to feel this way again. And that was almost one of the triggers that made me start exercising and doing the things and creating the eating habits that I did, in eighth and ninth grade that carry on to me now, 25, 30 years later.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. Blake, I think just watching you over the years, I think I officially met you in person probably 2006 or 7. I think you were just getting going in the business with your dad. So we've known each other for a very long time, and your dad, just so people out there kind of know who your dad is to us too. I would say he's like a father figure to us too, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it.
He's obviously your dad, but he's taught us so much, not just about business, but just how to live a life. And I think people, at least I know the question for me was, what is it like to be, and I know we're already asking you these questions, but what is it like to be a child, a son or a daughter of a man and like your dad, and your mom's an incredible woman as well. How was there pressure? I'm sure there was some pressure, but knowing your dad, I would imagine it was very positive pressure, motivating pressure to become great and to become good at all you do. Would you elaborate on that a little bit? Because to me, your dad, I respect him so much. It's almost intimidating, he's so disciplined. He's also very kind. He's he's a disciplined man who, he's inspiring, but almost in an intimidating way. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that in a positive way. I think sometimes that can come across the wrong way, but maybe elaborate on that a little bit. Was there
definitely intimidating sometimes, sometimes maybe in a negative way, but definitely more positive. But no, yeah, and I really appreciate y'all saying that about my dad. I felt, that was one of the things, I think, because he was such on a high level and I respected him so much, and he's done so much for me than I could ever imagine. He just did so many things positively for my life. So whenever I really got into business, it was never a scenario where I was trying to live up to him. I was just trying to almost, contribute to what he had built, in the company that we have. And it was like, maybe if I just do anything, I can hopefully pay him back a little bit to what he's done, for me in my life. And so, so I just think I put him on such a pedestal of, kind of some of the things that y'all said, thinking that this man is clearly, one of the best and be very, very difficult to duplicate what he did. It'd be very difficult to kind of live in his footsteps or even try to be him. And that was one of the main things I think that helped me tremendously when getting into business, is that I never wanted to be him. I wanted to be myself. There's some traits that he has that are incredible traits that I don't have. And I think vice versa. And there were some things that maybe I saw traits that he had that I maybe didn't want to have. And I think we all have that in our parents, no matter how much you admire or respect them. Mm-hmm. And so, I saw the different things and said, okay, I like this route. And he did. I'm going to do those things. This route, I might go a little bit differently. But it was definitely something to where I never felt, especially when getting into the company, I never felt like I wanted to live up to him, because I knew that was almost impossible. But that helped me a lot, because it was no expectations. It was, I'm going to be the best that I can be. He's obviously, in my opinion, I view him as the best, but and I'm going to be the best that I can be. And at the end of the day, that's going to be pretty amazing. If I just focus on being the best me at all levels, on all aspects. That's what I love so much about, again, y'all's podcast, is that at every aspect in life,
Yeah,
business,
I would argue to say that I think that your dad and I have actually had this conversation. When all said and done, I would argue to say that you'll end up becoming better. And I think a lot of the reason is because of that servant mentality you just said. I just, want to, provide more. How can I help with that legacy? How cool is that? But I do think, man, when all said and done, you'll look back and everybody will agree that, your dad did such an incredible job that, you became such an incredible man that you became better. Right. And how cool is that to be able to pass that on? And I think that, because of that, there's pretty high likelihood that that's going to happen with your children too.
No doubt. Tell us about your family a little bit. You've got 2 kids.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all saying
awesome
that.
Wife. Yeah,
I think about that I always say that with my son. I'm like, he always asks me, Daddy, am I better at basketball than you are? He loves basketball. Bentley's the first. I'll start at 9. He loves basketball. And that was not I'll be honest with you. He saw, clearly my dad played college basketball. I played college basketball. So I think it's just something that he loves and he has a passion for. He also, we're writing football right now. So he loves football, but he's a special kid. He's just amazing kid. I think everybody says that about his kids, but this little dude is just amazing. He's got, it's just to let you guys know, because my dad, he's got my dad's like tenacity and work ethic and just maniac, work ethic mentality. The kid's 9 and he gets up and does workouts on his own, and I don't even tell him to. It's just like, I didn't do that till I was 17, or even 18, It's crazy. And so he's out there shooting basketball by himself all the time. My dad used to have to tell me to go shoot a certain amount of shots until I got it in high school at 17, 18 years old, but he's doing it at 9, so it's just, he's got that in him, but he's also very, he's got that personality like me. He's got a more of a fun loving, laid back, sensitive, but also relationship oriented personality. So he's just an amazing kid. And my daughter is 6. She's just amazing. Daddy's little girl. And she's in all types of stuff. And she's in cheerleading and singing and stuff like that. So she's special, beautiful little girl. I'm nervous. I know you guys Brandon, you got beautiful daughters. I am nervous. Maybe we can talk after that about that.
Yeah.
She looks like her mom. I'm nervous.
Did school just start out there for you guys too?
Yeah, today was my son's first day. Yes.
Same here. Same thing. I was telling Jeff earlier, my wife was all sad because they're going to school. I'm happy about it. I'm kind of excited, but she we kind of do the half homeschool and half school thing. So this week they're going to all day, and then next week we'll start doing the half and half deal. And so we went and saw the teachers yesterday, and my little Dodger, he's he's the cutest little kid, 6 years old, just going to first grade, and just so excited to go to school. And Lexi was just bawling because he was so excited, and she doesn't want to lose her little boy. But so, we're going through those same stages right now with the little ones. But yeah, I got 2 older daughters. I got a daughter who's turning 16, so she's just about to drive, and then one that's 13. So I know the feeling when you got a cute little daughter. That's definitely
Serious.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. I was about to say that about you. I know you got a beautiful daughter. So I was like, I'm nervous for that 16, 15, 16, but at least she's 6 now. So she's amazing. She gets whatever she wants, but she's a sweetheart too. She's a great little girl.
Good deal.
Awesome.
So how did you meet your wife?
So I met my wife in Texas. So where I played basketball, her best friend was on the girls basketball team. So we did a long distance. My wife went to Arizona State University in Scottsdale, Arizona. And so she came down, you know how, I don't know, if you remember college, you remember, girls always have pictures of all their best. They probably still do it now.
Now we didn't go to college, Blake. We didn't.
Yeah,
we didn't.
Okay,
we don't know college. You're gonna have to elaborate.
Okay, I was joking about that. Okay, but yeah. So in college, whenever I was in college playing ball, all the girls and all the dorms and the apartments, they have pictures of their friends all over the room, scattered everywhere, right? Especially if they're from out of town. And so I would, my wife Lindsay, her picture was, one of the main ones all over this girl's dorm room, and I was like, I want to meet her. She's beautiful, and sure enough, she came to visit her best friend, and we kind of just hit it off there, talked long distance for a little while, and then about 6-7 months later, after basketball season, we started dated long distance for 2 years. I would go out to Scottsdale a lot, which is if you know Baton Rouge and you know Scottsdale, it wasn't that difficult for me to want to go to Scottsdale. It's a gigantic difference. Scottsdale is amazing. Baton Rouge is not the best, but it's all right. And so we would go out to Scottsdale and have a great time. And then we got married almost 2.5 years later, and now been married 15 years now, about to be 15 years in February. And she's amazing. More obsessed with her. I tell her this all the time. I'm not just saying that, it's crazy. More obsessed with her now than I was the day that I met her. And it's we have just a phenomenal relationship. Me and Jeff and Kelsey have spent a lot of time together. We've always talked about that. And Brandon, Lexi, I know we spent a decent bit of time, but you can tell we would always talk about it's amazing, y'all's relationships with your wives. And you can tell that even though you've been, married for a certain period of time, that there's still that dotingness. You still have that love and admiration, and that's the way, by God's grace that it's been. And last thing I'll say with this is kind of funny. My son asked me that. He asked me, he's never done this before, but he was like, Daddy, how many girlfriends did you have before mommy? And then I told him, and I told him it was like 3 or 4, and he thought that was a lot. And I was like, it's not really a lot. But anyways, and I was like, but and then he kind of asked, he was like, why is mommy different? And I just was like, I couldn't stop telling him why, because she's amazing in every way. She helps me in business and life, and she's the best mom that I could imagine having for my kids. So it's just really it's been amazing doing life. She makes life easy for me, I can tell you that. And it's been amazing doing life with her for sure.
Awesome. What do you guys like doing for fun? What are some of the current things you're involved with? Obviously, you guys are building businesses and family and busy with those things. But what do you guys enjoy doing outside of that?
Well, we have a lot of hobbies. We have a lot of, I say a lot. We have some. I actually, by seeing y'all's background, I want to get into hunting. I've been wanting to come hunting.
I was telling Jeff, we got to go do an elk hunt. Like next year, we got to get you. Have you done your hunter safety?
I have not, but I'll do it. And I just built this new house about a year ago, and the guy who built my house is a huge elk hunt. So he would always bring me back elk, and it's some of the best stuff I've ever tasted in my life.
Oh yeah, dude, it's amazing.
But anyways, I know. So I love the background. But yeah, so I used to be very much into golf. I don't play a whole lot of golf anymore. It takes up a lot of time away from the family. But we travel a decent bit. Beach is really close beach. My sister actually just got married about a year ago and moved to the beach over in Florida. The Rosemary Beach 38 area is what they call it. It's an incredible area. And so we go over there a good bit and vacation there with our family and spend a lot of time together. It's just an amazing place, very peaceful, kind of a getaway for us. And there's just so many things to do. But the truth is really since kind of the end of COVID and really in it, it's just, we've been really immersed in the kids, as y'all probably know too, the kids activities, kids sports, traveling all over the country. Bentley's baseball team finished 5th in the country this year. That was pretty cool. Although I think it's weird they rank 9-year-olds, but they did, and they won a World Series anyway. So they ranked in 5th, and
Dang.
traveling for basketball, and then Lexi has a lot of different things and activities that we travel for. Cheer, she did some cheer stuff, so just really very much involved in that. And then when not doing that, really working, and really growing the business here as strong as we possibly can.
Very
That's
good.
awesome.
How do you, tell us a little bit about your goals you're headed towards and then how you balance all this stuff, because I've always watched you and Lindsay and really your family continue to have a tremendous, just so people out there know, in Primerica, you guys have always had one of the very top offices in the company, and you've maintained that for years and years and years, and then not only that, but you've built other people that have opened up other offices. How have you been able to continue to grow that business, run a good family life, and just do it all? So I guess it's a two-part question. I should probably start with one. What are your goals, and then how are you achieving that and living a great life, great quality life on the way there? Because it's not like you, Blake. I'm sure, we've all busted it for a period of time, but again, looking from the outside, I don't know the whole story, of course, but it seems like you've been able to have a great quality of life while building a super successful business.
Company, yep.
Not all business and then all family. It's like you have just done a good job, from what I can tell, of just having it all, living it all, doing it all. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
Definitely. I appreciate that very much. The funny thing, Brandon, is one of the first things I remember even hearing was, I think actually you spoke at my first event.
I think it was, I believe it was. Yeah.
And I remember you saying stuff. I remember you talking about that specifically, talking about, your life with Lexi and what you're trying to do, and how hard you worked and went after it for 4 or 5 years. Different things like that. So that was kind of a mentality for me. If you don't mind, I'll hit the other one before I'll get to the goals second. But, that was something that I saw. My dad always talked about it, and understanding that I probably could be, and everybody can be, there's always a different level. Like you could always be probably a little bit more successful, right? You can have a little bit more money. You can have a little bit more success in the company, a little bit more awards and recognition. But in that stance, you might have to sacrifice time with family. You might have to sacrifice some things there. Now, I was very lucky and blessed, just like you two were, to be able to really get after it for 5-6 years without kids. So that helped out a lot, to really be able to give it 1,000% effort, without kids for 5 or 6 years, to really build the foundation of our business, just like you guys did. And then after that, really develop philosophies and strategies where I was working not as hard necessarily, but smarter, and also with a little bit better, culture, a little bit better strategies on how to do it and how to grow it without having to put that significant amount of time and effort in, right? And so, my number one priority has always been my wife, and then the kids. And then if I ever saw that time was struggling, or if there was ever a lack there, if I ever wasn't giving her the attention that I think she wanted and needed, then I would maybe back just take a little bit of a step back, do a couple things with her, sacrifice a little time and effort business-wise to make sure that was right, and then get right back on that same game plan of really trying to go after and accomplish my goals. And for me, a lot of times that was great. Maybe it was a necessary break. It was a little bit of a downtime that to be able to refresh and replenish and make sure we were always right. Because y'all know that as great fellas and great husbands. When it's not good at home, which it's very rarely been that way, it's usually not good in general. My business can be down, but if my wife's upset or something's wrong there, it makes me more upset than anything else, right?
Yeah, I think any guy who's married and truly loves their spouse and treats them like they should be treated, that it's important. It's important for us to have just as much success in our marriage and our relationship as it is in our business, right? And far more important, I would say. But I think that the challenge comes where people put the priorities out of line, right? And it seems like you've obviously done a great job, and you understand that being a great man is putting your wife first, right? She should be put first, right? She's going to be the one that's there always. And business relationships, that may not always happen, but your wife is the one you made an eternal commitment to, right?
Absolutely. No, that's an absolute great point. That was my whole mindset, is what is what is all this money and this success and this fame and the company if our relationship's bad, right?
Yeah, exactly.
If we sacrifice this, what's that really worth? Now, and all I think a lot of great men, especially like y'all, you can have both. You can do it right. You can do it that way. And I learned a lot of that from my father. Learned that a lot of that from great friends, and, in our company, like you two, and like other leaders that have really helped mentor me. So you saw how to do that, and you be able to navigate on how to do both. But I think that was something that I've always tried to make a priority. Is and something else too is that whenever I'm with my family doing those things and we set that time aside, giving them 100%. And I know that's kind of cliche and a lot of people talk about that, but it's true. Really being focused where I'm. And I developed that habit probably 6-7 years ago. When my son was like 1 or 2, I was like, okay, when I'm with my family, I'm with them. Although when you're in a business world, your mind is always turning. But as much as I possibly can, I'm going to be with them. I'm not going to be distracted. I'm not going to be on my phone. I'm not going to be looking at different things business-wise. Like when I'm in them and I need to be with them, that's where my 100% time and effort is. Then obviously we got to go work, right? So when I'm working, that's where I'm going to be. I'm going to give absolutely everything I have to the company, to my team, to all the agents, to anybody I'm working directly with, to make sure that time is maximized. Because we all see that, and you guys have seen that as well too. And maybe y'all can hit on that. But you see so many people that they when they're with their business, or they're doing business, or they're working, their mind's not there. They're giving 50%, they're giving 40%, and so they don't maximize efforts. They don't maximize potential. But if they're there and giving 100%, especially in the time needed, you can get a lot done in a very short period of time. And then when you're not there 100% with your family, they know that. They know you're distracted. They know you're doing other things. And I didn't want to be that way. So that's what we tried to do there.
Yeah, I think it comes from that deep rooted belief in people that they've really got to ask themselves, what is your belief? Because successful people believe there is enough time to do it all, right? There are enough hours in a day to have an incredible marriage, a great spiritual life, an incredible business. There are enough hours in a day to make all of that happen, right? Where a lot of times you hear unsuccessful people talk and they'll tell you things there isn't enough time, and they're always feeling like they have to rush in everything they do, never really focusing and putting their effort and energy into the thing that they're doing at that moment.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Can I actually, it's funny, I appreciate y'all asking me all these questions, because I'm curious to see what y'all think about this, because that was one of the things that I always teach our organization, teach our team. But I read a book probably 4 or 5 years ago, and it talked about that if you really, really want to be great at certain things, you really have to pick 3 or 4 in your life and really focus on this. Because like Brandon, you asked me about what are my hobbies and habits or hobbies and stuff like that too. And a lot of that book, and again, I could be wrong, but I really respect y'all, and y'all have done a tremendous job in every aspect. So I'm curious to see what you think about this statement. But it basically was talking about that if you want to have a great marriage, if you want to be, I guess maybe let's include family. Okay, so the one thing was family. If you want to have a great family life, if you want to be successful, if you want to be in great physical shape, and then basically pick one hobby, habit, and that's actually the least important thing. So in this book was mentioning, if you want to be in great physical shape and be like y'all talk about in your podcast, you want a great marriage, and you clearly talk about the great business. If you really want to be truly amazing and great, those are really the 3 main things. And if you focus on that, but once you start adding other things in, like I think you can do that with other habits, like golf or hunting and stuff. Like you can throw those things in there and still do it all, because a lot of times if you're working as hard as you guys work, or I work, or other men work, you need that a little bit. But that when you start, what the book talked about is when you start throwing in other hobbies or other habits, or so you watch social, you scroll through social media all the time, or you like to watch TV shows or blah, blah, blah during the day, or you like to, I don't know what it is. There's a lot of different hobbies and habits and distractions that people have. But as they started adding in the hobbies, habits, distractions, however you want to look at them, you get less and less great at those 3 things that are the most important. And I thought that was huge. And so I don't know what y'all think about that, but I'd love to hear y'all's input on that as well.
Yeah, I think you're right on. I mean, we do have a finite amount of time, and right. So we make time for what we feel is most important. And so yeah, you're talking about family, being successful in business, career, and fitness. Those would definitely top three, I would say, along with family, would be God, right, and your beliefs there. That kind of all goes together. But I think God encompasses all of it anyway, right? It encompasses the whole deal. But I would agree with that. I'm a type of guy who I'm probably, when I focus on something, I probably focus on it to a fault. I have a hard time doing multiple things at the same time, and so typically, I've got a couple businesses now that I'm working on, and it's a trick to be able to do a really good job at more than just a couple of them. You can't. I don't think you can add too many things.
Sorry to cut you off, but I think this is where discipline comes into play. Because I think you're right, but this is where the discipline of not only the discipline of working, but the discipline to be able to change the focus. Like, for example, if it's to your family, if you're at a kid's soccer game or baseball game, like, all right, I have enough discipline to be able to turn off business for a second and focus on baseball or
just
whatever
mastery,
it may be, right? I know you're good at that, right? But
yeah, well,
going.
I mean,
Sorry
maybe I'm good at it. I don't know that I feel that I'm good at it. I'm always trying to get better at that. You'll be able to switch on and off to different things. But I agree 100%. I mean, I've had times in my life, I think, where I've maybe gotten a little too focused on. I mean, I years ago used to do Ironmans and got a little bit too overly focused on that kind of stuff, and then my family suffered, my business suffered. So I've learned that those things are definitely far less important than providing for my family and being there for my family over the years. So I mean, I agree 100% with. I mean, do you know what the name of that book is, Blake? Do you remember?
Man, you know what? I'll go get it. I'll text it to y'all.
Yeah.
I wrote this down, Blake, when you said that is your life is a reflection of your priorities. And I think if you look at your life and you say, okay, am I doing the things that matter most to me, right? And what is the result? For example, is my spiritual life in order? If not, then that means you're not investing time and effort and energy into it, right? And so, like you said, Brandon, we have 24 hours in a day, and we have to sleep. We don't have a choice. So you've got to sleep. You've got X number of hours after you sleep, and what are you going to do with that time? And so if your family is important to you, then obviously you're going to invest time and effort and energy into your family. But at the same time, if your family's important to you, then you're going to want to build a successful business to give them a high quality of life, right? And so you're going to have to invest time and effort and energy into that as well. I think at the end of the day, for me, the way I see that question, Blake, is just I agree with you. What are my priorities? What does my life look like? Does my life look like what I want it to look like? And if it doesn't, then that means my priorities are out of line, right? And so I've got to adjust and change. And I think like you just said, Brandon, a lot of times we've all done it where we get obsessed with something. I think anybody successful at anything has been obsessed about something, right? That's what created the success. So we start playing golf. I know, Blake, you say golf is one of those things for me too. It's hard because it's like one of those things you can't turn off once you start thinking about it. Mm-hmm. You get obsessed and you're constantly thinking about it. You want to go do it again. You want to play some more. You want to, you're watching videos on how to, whatever, have a better shot. There's all these things that you can get obsessed with and change your attention. But then obviously if your attention is somewhere else, something else is suffering from that, right? And so we just have to decide whether or not that's in line with our goals. What do we really want out of life? And so
that's a blessing. I think that's a blessing or a curse, and a curse sometimes too with successful, anybody, successful males or females, especially successful males in the high A personality, is that you just get so laser focused on something. Like you said, and sometimes it comes up. It can be golf. It can be a hobby. It can, or an Ironman. I think that's awesome. I remember, was it 6 or 7 years ago, I got so, obsessed with working out and getting to a certain physical condition. Like I want to be in the best physical shape that I've ever been in my life. Right. Well, looking back now, 6 years later, I'm like, that was kind of stupid. But at the same time, it was fun. I remember getting excited about it, but it definitely took some time and effort and energy away from other things, right? And but it does create, and I think that's what creates successful people, that obsession, that high A focus because unfortunately, and it is a blessing, but unfortunately, a lot of people don't have that, and that's why they usually will never be successful, is because they don't have that focus, they don't have that intensity that makes them go get something So again, it can be a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, I would say that they choose not to exercise that muscle. I don't know about not have it, but it hurts. It hurts to be disciplined. It's uncomfortable. I'm doing 75
Right.
hard right now, Blake, and I don't know what day I'm on. I'm on like day 55 or 60. I don't know, somewhere in there.
I was about to say it's important to know what day you're on if you're going 75.
Well, I just know I'm going 90. So I'm going 90, and that's after my it's a day before my son's birthday, which is my son's birthday's September 13th. So September 12th is the day I'm done. That's 90 days from when I started.
So Jeff, what is that? Do you mind? I'm sure you probably explained it already on here, but what is the 75 hard?
Yeah, so what it is, for 75 days, you do 2 workouts a day. One of them has to be outside, so they have to be at least 45 minutes long. 2 workouts, drink a gallon of water, take a progress picture, read 10 pages, and follow a diet. Doesn't matter what diet, you just follow a diet. And
Okay, gotcha.
it's really a mental discipline program. And that's really what it is. And that's the reason I brought it up, because what happens is it's not that tough if you're in a routine, but when you start changing routines, right? So school goes back in, or we're traveling or something like that. Next thing you know, you've got to start thinking, okay, how am I going to get all this in? If I'm traveling, how am I going to work out 2 days a week, but I'm on a plane for 5 hours, right? So it's uncomfortable. There's times where I'm sore and I still have to get another workout in, and I'm like, dang, dude, number one, I don't feel like working out right now. I'm sore, right? I just don't feel like doing it because I'm tired, but I'm sore. I hurt. Number 2 is it might be midnight, but I've got to do it. I said I was going to do it long before it hurt, right? I made this commitment long before it was uncomfortable and inconvenient. And so I think at these times I have to make a decision going, okay, am I going to finish what I started? Am I going to do what I said I was going to do? And, and I think that's why it's a muscle. I say that, Blake, is because a lot of times where people don't have this intensity, I think it's just because they have a habit of quitting everything they start. It's like, think about how many people quit everything. I get so fired up. It's like people quit freaking marriages. They quit school. They quit their life. People quit things because it gets hard and uncomfortable. And I think if they would look at those times as an opportunity to grow, which obviously was actually going to be my next question to you, Blake, is, as you were a child, you played a lot of sports. I know your dad played sports. You've put your kids in sports. I think it breeds a lot of discipline, and I was going to ask if there's a specific reason or if it's just having fun. But I think that if that discipline factor is there when it comes to success in anything, if you're willing to do the things that are uncomfortable, maybe you don't feel like doing, maybe they're just hard right now. Maybe it's just you don't have the energy or you don't have the time, but you make the time, you find the energy, you have a goal, and you just do it anyway. Aren't those the times we have the most success on something?
Yeah, I think we were talking last podcast, we're talking about self-care, right? And I think that self-care is really good if we are using it to enhance other people's lives. So it's kind of when it's self-care, like, I got to go, like some people self-care is they work hard all day, right? I think we talked about this.
Yep.
And then they think that self-care is coming home and watching Netflix for the night and relaxing, and,
Right.
and so we're talking about self-care, like 75 hard. You're doing that. And people, we may call them the haters, would say, man, he's doing that. He's so selfish, thinking about himself. You're doing that to be a better Jeff Fieldstead for your wife, your kids, your people in business, people around you. And that's why you're doing it. So it's self-care to serve other people. I'm thinking, we're going to go to Boston next week, right? I'm thinking you might have to do a workout on the plane, maybe.
I've already figured out I have to. We have a layover. Blake, this is how crazy, right? So we've got a layover. We're on the same flight. We leave early in the morning. The only time I'm going to be able to fit in a workout before when we land, which we land late at night, is I'm going to have to work out at the airport. But I did it. We just went to the Bahamas a couple weeks ago. It was the first half of 75 hard, and I had to do a workout at the airport in the Bahamas. Everybody thought I was crazy, but I was getting it done, man.
Well, you guys follow Liver King, right? You follow Liver King on
yeah.
You follow Liver King?
No, I don't.
Oh, you got to follow Liver King.
You got to send that to me.
He cracks me up, dude.
Liver King is Anyway, you just got to follow him. I can't explain, but he has his private plane, and he's always got his weights, and he's working out on his plane. And
yeah, it's funny.
He's on.
That must be nice.
He's on Instagram.
Go work out on. Yes.
Yeah, you got. So Blake, let me ask you. I want to ask. I mean, this is a perfect segue into this question. So I know your dad was a high-level basketball player. You've talked about it. You were as well. Your son is going to be as well. I mean, I watched the videos of this 9-year-old on Instagram, and it's crazy. It's cool to see how good he is already, and we know how good he's going to be as he gets older. Why sports? Is it something that you think that mentality is going to help him because maybe it helped you? Is it you just enjoyed the sport? It was you wanted to be able to do it with him like your dad did with you? Why sports?
Man, yeah, I think the first thing would immediately be, honestly, is because my dad put me in sports, and I just figured we'll put him in sports. I mean, he's a boy. You might as well throw him in some sports, I guess, and see if he likes it and go in that direction. If he doesn't like it, we'll go another route. I think that was the main thing. And I'd always dreamed of having my son play sports and be able to watch him. And I remember that the relationship, how it created just such a better relationship. Not saying that me and my dad would not have been close if it wasn't for sports, but it definitely bettered our relationship. It made us closer because it gave us something common that we both love that we can do all the time together. And really that's how me and Bentley are now. We do a lot of things together, track a lot of games together, and he loves it. He has that passion and energy, and he loves playing sports. He loves watching sports. And so it's just kind of a cool thing that we can do together. I do believe absolutely it creates discipline. It creates competitiveness. That's what it definitely did for me. I think that helps so much when getting into business, especially our business. How competitive are you depends on, usually your history. But then once you get into something, that competitiveness comes out, and a great company or a great industry will bring out competitiveness in you, and then how competitive. And so that would help me out a lot. I remember getting into the company and being 22 years old and being like, man, my basketball career is over. I'm really kind of disappointed in that. But immediately when I started competing and seeing the leaders bulletins and seeing what I need to go after and seeing people win and making a significant amount of money, I thought, okay, well, that's what I got. That's how I can be competitive. I can be competitive on this leaders bulletin. And I think that helps drive a lot of people. That's what sports definitely did for me. And I think I know it's doing that for my son, and it definitely develops that camaraderie with the team, how to be around different people that aren't like you, that are from different backgrounds, different states, cities, and how to develop a team, and also how to treat a team whenever things are going good, and how to treat a team when things go bad. I mean, I love that about what I'm training Bentley right now, especially when you have an extremely high competitive team and all these kids are phenomenal at what they do. It's crazy at 9 and 10 years old, but to say, hey, this kid messed up. It might have cost us the game. It might have cost us this, but you need to encourage him because he didn't mean to mess up. And we need to encourage him and maybe and hopefully next time, he'll learn about it and get better. And also, be a leader on your team. Encourage your teammates if they're doing great. A lot of these kids, unfortunately, that I even saw, and it's crazy to think this, Jeff and Brandon, but even these kids are some of the best kids in the country from a baseball standpoint or basketball standpoint that my son's playing with. Their parents don't encourage them. A lot of it's negative motivation. And I keep telling them, I was like, buddy, that's why you have to be on the court or leader, because unfortunately, a lot of times they have not gotten positive reinforcement, and children live for that. Adults live for that. I'm 36 and I live for positive reinforcement, right? From my kids or my wife. And I love that stuff, but especially even more as a child. So I think so many great things you're able to learn and teach kids through sports and through that avenue, for sure, from what I've learned from my dad and now with my son.
That's awesome. I think so many people I know just now I'm taking notes like crazy, getting so much out of that. I think that, a lot of times where people don't put two and two together when it comes to being competitive, especially in business, is realizing that's what keeps you in the creative stage, right? Where you're constantly thinking about winning, man. What can I do to serve the team to help us win the game or whatever it is? And then you take that into business, like what can I do to help serve the team so that we can win whatever is the contest, or we can be the largest company in the industry, or whatever it is. And it takes you from that like working, grueling stage back to the creative stage of saying, man, if I do this, then we could do this, right? And puts you back in that servant mentality, which is so much fun when you are a competitor. I think it's unfortunate about people who haven't decided to compete is they don't really get in that stage because they're so worried about, I don't know, losing, or I don't know. What do you think it is, Blake? In your career, we've all worked with so many people. What do you think it is that stops people from competing? Because we know we've all worked with those people who say, I'm just not competitive. Mm-hmm. So what do I do if I'm just not competitive? Then how do I fit in?
That's a good question.
What would you say, Blake? What would be your answer?
I think, when people stop competing, from what I've seen, is either they fall out of love or out of passion for what they're doing, especially for the game. They just fall out of love for whatever reason. Or a lot of times they get afraid they maybe lose or are not succeeding into the level of either which they think or which the competition is playing. And I think they start to retract because they can't handle not winning or not being at the top or not succeeding, if that kind of makes sense.
They don't even believe they have a shot, right? They're just like, I'm not even going to go there. I think that's probably a pretty natural thing, right? If you look at something that's impossible, you're probably not going to try.
Yeah.
And I think that's something I would try to help the brand newest person joining our business do is just help them with that first little step. If they didn't want to make a phone call,
right,
and just helping them make that first phone call, or let's go pop by this person and visit with this person, and let me show you how to do it.
Right.